Hey there! When it comes to fountain pens, sometimes you have to keep an open mind. A while ago I was approached by CollectionFreak on YouTube. You can check out her channel, there's some pen stuff on there. And she lives in the same country as I do, in the Netherlands. And she contacted me and she said, I bought a pen from Action, which is a chain of budget stores, pretty much. And it was really, really cheap, but I kind of like it. That was sort of the gist of her message. And yesterday I was in town, and I passed by Action. I thought, hey, let's have a look and see if I can find one of those pens. And I think she sent me a picture, CollectionFreak, at some point, but I sort of forgotten what they looked like. And I found them, and I saw them on display, and I thought, hello, 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 what we got here then? Because they look pretty decent. And they were made of metal, which I always enjoy. So I thought, you know what, let's buy one. So I paid the astronomical amount of €1.35, which is what, something like $2 or something, I guess. And that makes this quite possibly the cheapest pen in my collection. I'm not absolutely sure, but at least of the ones I've purchased myself, I've got some expensive ones, a lot of affordable ones, some very inexpensive ones, but this one is downright cheap. And it's bloody awesome! So let's show you, I'll show you this pen. It even comes in a box. I mean, there's this sort of display case. I'll open up the carbonite. Oh, look at that. I know it's very reflective, so you may not see it that well. But that doesn't look particularly cheap to me. It came on a very simple blister, you know, some one of those blister cards. This was cardboard. I'm glad I saved this. The brand is HZ Products in the Netherlands. Sorry, I'm just. It's just a sheet of white cardboard. This was the back of the blister, and it says, "Save this information." There is no information. Well, it doesn't really matter. Let's throw it out. Let's have a look at the pen. The pen is metal, which is not bad. I'll cover the parts of the pen, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then do a writing sample. On top of the cap, there's just a little black thing, and there's a clip, which is metal. Seems quite nice, quite springy. Also feels like something I could bend, so I won't be too harsh there. You have this nice slanted cut-off line, highly reflective silver, well, silver, I mean chrome-like stuff on this bit and the clip, and then it's a somewhat more dull, I won't say gunmetal, but that's sort of the gunmetal dark gray color on the rest of the pen. You go down, you have this nice little, again, highly reflective silver oval shape just below the clip. I'm not sure whether you can really see that. You can see the indenture right there. It looks quite cool. Now we have the cap. It's a slip cap. We have a few rings on the barrel. Again, those are shiny chrome, and the rest is this sort of somewhat more matted chrome gunmetal stuff. A nice tapering down the end of the barrel, and then again a reflective thing at the very bottom end. The pen posts, it posts well, nothing wrong with that. A plastic section. Now, I've got the feeling I've seen this section somewhere before. The italics teacher has something that looks a little bit like this. Nib and feet are friction fit. You can pull them out. The nib has some scroll work on it and says Iridium Point, Germany, of course. But let me tell you something about that nib. When I see a nib, what I always do is I hold it up, uninked, to the light, and I check whether a beam of light passes between the two nib tines. And you want that to be a uniform beam of light, and ideally you want that beam to be widest near the breather hole and then taper down towards the two nib tips. And I always prefer it when the nib tips just not touch. They just not touch. They're just very close together, but they don't actually touch. I think Nathan Tardif always says you should be able to pass a sheet of paper right in between them. A lot of pens I buy don't have that. They have a nib slit that is too close, so I have to open it up myself to make the pen a bit wetter. This pen, for €1.35, had everything I was looking for. There was a narrow strip of light, it was slightly tapered, the two tips of the tines just not touched. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, so, nib and feed, nothing too fancy. The pen came with a cartridge, standard international, which is nice. I had a couple of these Chinese converters lying around. I decided to throw that in there. Fits really well. They're just, universal, standard international connection, so that works well. Barrel, as I said, is metal. It gives a decent weight. It's not a very heavy pen. It's quite light metal. When you post it, you've got a large pen. When you don't post it, it's also, I would say, a fairly comfortable shape and size. So, what do I like about the pen, and what do I not like? Well, some parts I think look a little cheap. When it comes to this section with the black plastic and then this highly shiny bit near the end, I think it looks a little cheap. It's a cheap pen. That's not really strange. Something else I don't really like, you have this nice tapered bit near the barrel end. I'm not sure why you can see this, but this is slightly tapered and it flares down, and then you have the barrel. When you post it, I was assuming the cap would fit all the way down over that tapered bit, and it does not. So what happens is you still see that sort of tapering. I think it would have been cool if it would have fit down there all the way, so that the cap and the barrel would be flush. They're not. I can't say I really care. I'm nitpicking, but I have to point at something that I would like to see improved, and this is it. Now, what do like? Well, the pen's writing performance is quite impressive. I inked it up, it wrote straight away, there was no skipping, there were no hard starts, it just wrote. It writes excellently. Does it give you the same writing performance as an 18-karat gold nib on a really expensive pen? Well, what do you think? But in all honesty, it's not scratchy. It may give a little bit of feedback, but this, in all honesty, is not a scratchy nib. So, I think this pen is really nice. And what I'll do next is show you a writing sample, and that's all there's to it. So I hope this was useful. Thank you, CollectionFreak, for pointing me in the direction of this pen. I enjoy it. I think it's a nice addition to my collection. And at this price, I mean, you can't really go wrong, can you? So, I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we go with the quite cheap pen. That's a that was a euro thing. 135. The nib. Well, what do we make of this? Something in between fine and medium, I would say. Maybe a bit on the fine side, but not the extremely hairline fine side. The ink is Iroshizuku Momiji. And it's probably a good idea. I should just point out that I have not done anything with the nib. I've not made it wetter or smooth or anything. It's just out of the box. I've been talking for a while. Let's see if we get a hard start. No. Writes straight away. Bit of writing. Okay, so what we get here, I would not call this nib scratchy, quite simply because it is not. It gives a little bit of feedback, and that would be easy to smooth out with a bit of micro mesh. I probably will, but for this review's sake I thought it was good to first show you the pen as it writes out of the box. This, in all honesty, does not feel scratchy. I feel a little bit of feedback, especially on those strokes, a little less on those strokes. But again, I wouldn't call that scratch. Let's do some fast writing. So here we had one skip. That was on one of the diagonal upstrokes. Often that's, I think those are more sensitive to skipping. But I think the performance overall has been very acceptable. If that's the only one in a full sentence, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. Now, what do we get in terms of line variation? There is some. Not extremely pronounced. It is a steel nib. It's not particularly springy, but you can get some line variation out. Okay, then let's have a look at the wetness of the pen. Look at that. Nice, beautiful, even patch of ink. Not a lot of white in there, which I always enjoy. A good, consistent, steady ink flow. And quite wet. Amazing value for the money, if you ask me. And I mean, it's really all metal, plastic section, metal cap, metal barrel, decent nib, bargain of the century. So, I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.